Joe Brum, at the age of 38, had two young daughters. The games and activities that they would get up to, he felt could be perhaps somewhat compelling to feature within a TV program, as he noticed that there was a lack of a market where play was the essential aspect.
I guess in where I was aiming it at, I wanted it to like fair and square hit the kids. I didn't want to try and teach them ABCs, I'm talking about 4 to 6 year olds. I just thought, look, I don't think they seem to be interested in learning the alphabet beyond just counting to 10. It's like they are interested in playing make-believe games, and also reenacting the events of the day, very seemingly mundane events.
While it was a preschool market he had in mind for the show, he wanted it to additionally be universally enjoyed by anybody.
Funnily enough, Gavin and Stacey was another show which just really showed me that one show can hit 2 generations really hard, and that is sometimes at odds with what parents find funny, but hopefully found a way to still bring the parents in on that joke,
But by far the biggest show that he drew influence from was Peppa Pig.
I loved how every family was a different animal. You just had such different visuals there, instantly. I loved how simple the animation was. I love Ben and Holly's for similar reasons. It's just played to the strength of the cutout style, which I knew for budget-wise we would have to use. And I was watching a hell of a lot of Community and learnt a lot about script structure through just watching that, and a bit of Rick and Morty. I just thought, okay, I want an Australian Peppa Pig, because what I love about Peppa Pig is how English it is, which is bizarre because it's so universal. That show has just gone around the world, but to me it is just so English. Not even United Kingdom, it's English. And I love that it had that sense of place without being overbearing. Koalas and kookaburras would be being overbearing. I wanted that variation, and so dogs just felt like, I can't pinch Peppa Pig's model, so if I stick with dogs, there's enough variation within breeds.
As a way to give the show its Australian uniqueness, Joe Brum would make the main family of dogs Australian heeler breeds. The main character of Bluey in particular would be based on the blue heeler, as the colour scheme would help her to distinctly stand out, especially when it came to the merchandise. Having prior work experience on an animated series of Charlie and Lola, he got to work in his own spare time of preparing a small little test animation on showing on what the show may look like. It features Bluey being pushed on the swing by her unfocused father, who's pretty irresponsible in the test, distracted by playing an app on his phone, where eventually she's pushed so hard that she goes up, over and around the swing. As well, we see 2 of Bluey's friends in the animation. The Red Kelpie would be later named to be Rusty in the final show, and the Border Collie would be known as Mackenzie. Although, judging by who's speaking on screen, the Red Kelpie may have originally adopted the name of Mackenzie before they were swapped around.
I went about trying to get the characters to look in a style that would be the most forgiving with the somewhat brutal style of animation that we were going to use. So that meant it's a very flat looking show, so very rectangular, where there's not lots of curves and things like that in the characters.
Since the budget was pretty much off his back, Joe Brum voice banded in the test.
I want to go on the big girl swing.
How about you go on this one?
No, not the chainy one.
Okay.
And use already pre-existing copyrighted elements such as the game that Bandit play being Salad Dodger. He teamed up with Daley Pearson to produce the series under his company, Ludo Studios. While they had the luxury of pitching it around to several networks, the naive creative team caused a little bit of confusion when they were asked as to who the show was meant to be aimed for. They replied that it could be universally enjoyed by parents and children, explaining that the humour was going to be on akin to Family Guy, all the while being within the suit of a Peppa Pig show. To a TV executive, these 2 programs are fairly polar opposites, so they couldn't exactly make sense of the concept. Thus, many of these pitch runs would conclude with the executives pardoning the project. This at first seemed fairly hopeless for the creators involved, but someone did see the potential when they brought it to ABC Australia. Executive Michael Kennington did lend a hand. ABC laid down the financial contribution for the team to create a full episode, with a budget estimated to be within roughly 20 grand. This time round we would see the whole of Bluey's family, the mum and dad, and her younger sister named Bingo, bringing on board David McCornack to be the voice of the dad Bandit. Interestingly, he's part of a band called Custard, and part of the track of Pinball was used as a prototype for the intro for both 2016 and 2017 pilots. The 2016 animation models would as well be repurposed for the visuals of the opening. Melody Nizzetti would additionally be the voice of Chili, the family's mum, although in the final pilot she would have a very reduced role, with it being Bandit taking centre stage in the plot.
Go on. Give your mum a hug. What are you waiting for? Oh, sorry.
As well, unlike the 2016 counterpart, the comedy and physics were much more heavily toned down. Instead of being based on slapsticks, it would be reformatted into a grounded setting where a family could easily see themselves within the setting.
Oh no! Hang on. Shh.
And gone. Mark Taylor is gone.
Okay, I've actually got to watch this. Come on! I just want to see this wicket.
With the creators taking a lot of cues and real-life inspiration with their own family to not only implement within the episode, but for the actual series for when it was finally picked up.
This is what it is. This is my life. Like, the kids do come in the toilet with me. I do have to do bush wheeze. It's almost like the more personal you go, the more universal it becomes.
Oh, what's the matter?
Daddy's playing too rough with me.
Yeah, he does play too rough sometimes, doesn't he?
The parents being caught up in the playful antics.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this for my kid.
Illustrating the silly situations that most adults would be embarrassed to be caught in.
Look, this all feels a bit silly.
I had two daughters about the same age as Bingo and Bluey, so what was happening in the scripts is pretty much what's happening in my life. So much so that my wife Lucy said to me, "Are you giving them story ideas?" I said, "No, it's hard to believe, but I'm not."
They additionally had a clear mindset that they were going to pitch this to the executives as a preschool show, so they had very much a clear market as to where exactly to put the series to.
It has a market, it has the investors you're aiming for, so you've got to know the types of shows that it's and the market that it's going to have to hit. And I feel like you can, as long as you get that roughly in that area, you can be quite new and innovative as much as you want.
The charm of the show is its fearlessness of unapologetically portraying a family. The 2017 pilot was titled The Weekend, which would later be repolished to fit in line with the 6th episode of the first season. Aside from animation glitches, Bandit's fur pattern along his eyes being different, a lack of music.
Okay, I'm just popping out for a text. I'll see you later.
I'm just going for a run.
I'll see you later.
See you, Mum.
Let me up!
An added doorbell scene, Bluey and Bingo having their own separate bedrooms. Backgrounds and props that do differ. The pilot and the broadcast product are more or less identical. Emulating reality, the pilot is sincere. The biggest conflict is where Bingo, discovering that there's a walking leaf, is excited and desperately wants to show her dad. But the little fella flies off before she has an opportunity to do so. Thus, she's rather upset later that evening that she didn't have the opportunity to share the experience with her dad. Children naturally have mood swings, being happy and playful 1 minute, but then could be absolutely devastated the other second. The parents' reassurance are not condescending or patronising, but are open and sentimental.
To come and see the walking leaf.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
That's okay.
The thing is, I don't know if you know this, but I bought this statue today from a shop and it turned out to be magic.
Daddy,
Yeah?
it was me.
What?
I was the statue.
What?
Treating every situation on the same level, despite on how minimalistic it may seem the issue. These could be either taking play too far,
Bingo!
unexpected goodbyes,
Well, look, sometimes special people come into our lives, stay for a bit, and then they have to go.
being limited into what we can have,
There's something Auntie Brandy wants more than anything as well.
Why can't she just have the things she wants?
Because it's not meant to be.
And feeling that we haven't succeeded, betraying a realistic, not a perfect family.
I don't think you are the best dad in the world.
Yeah, you're right, Bluey. I'm not.
But an inspiring one.
And there's something you need to know. You're doing great.
And that, for many, is the ultimate takeaway from Bluey. While the full show finally premiered in 2018, the pilots went under the radar for a fair few years, as they were never meant to be seen by the public. Where, when Bluey grew a more devoted following,
I've seen a lot of John Luke fan fiction online.
the momentum grew for people wanting to seek out its missing media. During this time frame where it was lost, there was some misspread of information and a slight bit of confusion of what exactly the content was from the two pilots. A quote from Joe Brum that the Lost Media Wiki had put on the article, "It was just unsafe, you could never put that on kids' TV," discussing about the original 2016 test animation, with fans being aware of that Family Guy aided as an influence for the show. Many of them had concluded that the pilots were a little bit more grisly than they actually were. At most, all we had officially was 1 minute and 18 seconds of the 2017 pilot that was released on Twitter via ABC Brisbane, acting as a sneak peek for the show. A news article of the time released 3 additional screenshots, and 2 photographs of the 2016 test animation taken off a monitor. It was round about in early 2023 that the topic of the 2 Lost Bluey pilots was becoming quite trendy again within the Lost Media community, and by February of that year, it did reveal results. While the source would rather remain anonymous, that individual in question had gifted the Twitter user that one pickle to upload the 2 Lost Bluey pilots, which finally brings us to concluding this search.